As the first round unfolded, the atmosphere inside the arena became almost unbearable with tension. Golovkin usually dominated opponents early with overwhelming pressure, but Curtis Stevens brought a completely different kind of danger. Every time Stevens twitched his left shoulder, the crowd reacted nervously because everyone knew that hook carried fight-ending power. Golovkin circled carefully while pumping the jab into Stevens' face and chest, slowly taking control of the distance. Stevens tried slipping inside, searching for opportunities to explode with counters, and for brief moments he found success. Then suddenly the challenger landed a hard left hook that snapped Golovkin's head backward. The crowd erupted instantly. Fans jumped from their seats, believing they had just witnessed the beginning of something special. Stevens roared with confidence, feeding off the energy of the Brooklyn crowd. But Golovkin's reaction was chilling. No emotion. He simply reset himself and marched forward again, like a machine programmed for destruction. Moments later, TripleG answered with a crushing hook of his own, reminding Stevens that the champion's power was even more terrifying. By the second round, Golovkin's jab had become a constant weapon, disrupting Stevens' rhythm and forcing him backward inch by inch. Then came the first massive turning point of the fight. Golovkin slipped into range and unleashed a brutal left hook that landed flush on Stevens' jaw. The challenger collapsed to the canvas as the crowd exploded into chaos. Stevens looked hurt badly as he pushed himself upright, blinking through the punishment while the referee counted. Golovkin calmly waited in the neutral corner with the expression of a man who expected this outcome all along. Somehow Stevens beat the count, and the crowd roared with appreciation for his toughness. But from that moment forward, the fight began shifting completely into TripleG's control. The middle rounds transformed the fight into a brutal display of controlled destruction from Gennady Golovkin. Stevens remained dangerous because of his explosive punching power, but TripleG's technical precision slowly began drowning him round after round. Golovkin's jab became the controlling force of the contest. It split Stevens' guard repeatedly, snapping his head backward and setting up crushing combinations behind it. The champion's footwork kept him perfectly balanced, while Stevens struggled to create openings for his counters. Whenever Stevens planted his feet to throw, Golovkin answered first with sharp straight rights or punishing hooks to the body. Those body shots started changing the entire fight. TripleG hammered Stevens' ribs and liver with sickening force, stealing energy from the challenger every minute. Still, Stevens showed incredible courage. He refused to quit or simply survive. Instead, he continued firing dangerous hooks whenever opportunities appeared. One big left hand from Stevens briefly backed Golovkin up and reignited the Brooklyn crowd, proving the challenger still carried fight-ending danger. But every moment of success from Stevens was answered immediately by the champion's relentless pressure. Golovkin trapped him against the ropes multiple times, smashing him with right hands and uppercuts, while the audience screamed after every exchange. Stevens' face slowly began showing damage as the punishment accumulated. His movement became slower. His breathing became heavier, yet he kept trying to stand and trade with one of the most feared punchers in boxing. That bravery earned respect from everyone watching. Golovkin, meanwhile, looked terrifyingly calm. His face remained emotionless, while he stalked Stevens around the ring with clinical precision. It felt less like a normal fight, and more like a predator slowly breaking down prey. Ringside commentators began noticing how Stevens' body language was changing under the pressure. By the later rounds, Golovkin had completely established dominance over the fight, but Curtis Stevens continued showing unbelievable toughness in the face of punishment. TripleG's jab kept landing almost effortlessly, controlling every exchange and forcing Stevens into survival mode more often than attack mode. Stevens' corner begged him to stay busy, to move side to side, and to stop backing into the ropes. but Golovkin's pressure gave him almost no breathing room. Every second inside the ring looked exhausting for the challenger. The body attack from Golovkin became especially brutal during these rounds. Massive hooks slammed into Stevens' ribs with frightening force, and each shot visibly drained more energy from his body. Till Stevens refused to surrender mentally. He continued firing counters whenever he could, occasionally landing hard hooks that reminded Golovkin to stay disciplined. That danger kept the fight dramatic because even while losing, Stevens always looked capable of changing everything with one clean punch. But Golovkin's technical superiority became impossible to ignore. He controlled the distance perfectly, slipping just outside Stevens' punches before returning fire with sharp combinations. The crowd began chanting "TripleG" louder and louder as the champion systematically broke Stevens down. At times, Golovkin pinned him against the ropes and unloaded devastating right hands upstairs before digging vicious hooks into the body. Stevens absorbed incredible punishment while somehow remaining standing. His face showed swelling, his reaction slowed, and his legs looked heavier with every passing minute. Yet his courage never disappeared. The 8th round became the final chapter of a fight defined by courage, pressure, and ruthless championship dominance. Golovkin walked forward with complete confidence, knowing Stevens had absorbed enormous punishment throughout the night. Yet the challenger still refused to surrender. He continued trying to answer back while TripleG pressed him toward the ropes once again. Then Golovkin unleashed another violent attack. A crushing right hand blasted through Stevens' guard, followed by brutal hooks to the body and sharp uppercuts upstairs. Stevens staggered backward under the assault, while the crowd stood on its feet, roaring at the violence unfolding before them. Golovkin's punches were no longer just hurting Stevens. They were breaking him down piece by piece. The challenger's corner watched nervously as their fighter absorbed shot after shot while trying desperately to stay upright. Stevens' bravery was undeniable, but the punishment had reached dangerous levels. TripleG sensed the finish and intensified the pressure even more, stalking Stevens like a predator closing in on wounded prey. Another huge right cross whipped Stevens backward into the corner, and suddenly the fight looked moments away from a devastating knockout. Referee Harvey Dock watched carefully as Stevens tried to defend himself, but his reactions had slowed dramatically. Before more damage could be done, Stevens' corner finally made the difficult decision to stop the fight at the end of the 8th round. The arena erupted instantly as the referee waved it off. Golovkin raised his gloves calmly while the crowd celebrated another terrifying performance from the undefeated champion. Curtis Stevens may have lost, but he earned enormous respect for standing in front of one of boxing's most feared fighters and refusing to back down. But on this unforgettable night in Brooklyn, division belonged to one man alone. Gennady Golovkin once again proved why the boxing world feared the cold precision, relentless pressure, and devastating power of TripleG.